They always say you should never talk about politics or religion, so today that's exactly what we're going to do. Welcome to the ADHDan Podcast. It goes where it goes. Today I have with me Paul Hamilton, the pastor of For Johnstown Church.
Well, I'm going to clarify one thing. So the For Johnstown is our community initiative. We're actually a Church of the Brethren, Westmont Church of the Brethren. And one of our ministries is also Grace Fellowship. So the three of them are kind of our trifecta, if you will.
I think keeping that in mind, that actually makes some of these topics more interesting. Yeah. And I always like to give the guests something. So I made this for you. Yeah, just with the episode and the date. So
that's wonderful. Thank you.
There you go. You're welcome.
Appreciate
Just a little gift. Who is Paul Hamilton?
Ooh.
That could be probably a whole episode, right?
That's a tricky one, yeah. Let's see. I'm a mediocre husband, a mediocre father. I'm somebody with a past. Let's put it that way. And that's kind of affected who I am and the things that drive me. So I have some train wrecks behind me that have kind of helped shaped who I am and you know, kind of why I'm involved in the things that I'm involved in right now. Was
being a pastor always in the plan?
Oh, no. It was never part of the plan.
At what point did maybe something change and it was like...
if we go way back, grew up in Greensburg, had a wonderful, basically a single parent. My mother raised four of us. I'm the youngest boy, the third oldest out of four kids. And she did the best she could. So we all kind of came out of that with, you know, the different bags that we carried. I went away to school to Ohio, and things over the next couple of years fell apart pretty quickly. Got somebody pregnant. Then we decided that we just needed to get married because that's what people did at that particular point in time. Within 2 years, we were divorced because we never should have got married in the first place. And so I had to drop out of school so she could finish school. Got a job, and that's financially for me, even up to where I am now, the paid positions that I have always been out of necessity. I needed to have money in the checking account, you know, to kind of keep things going. But at that point in my life, that started a decade of just all sorts of mistakes, financial, career, relational, you name it. It was just a train wreck. And throughout that time, that those 10 years, there was a person that I worked with, and he was always just there. I worked for a delivery company, and he worked on the dock there. And he would come with me some days on my route to help, you know, deliver if it was heavy. He would work in the dock, and I would, you know, hang out and talk to him. Every now and again, he'd ask me to go to church. And I grew up, my mother took us to church because that's what you're supposed to do, but it really didn't take. It was a large church in Greensburg, and you kind of get caught up in I would call it a very traditional Protestant church. And Jesus was kind of a Santa Claus figure. You know, if you live your life good, you're going to get wonderful things. If you don't, you're going to get punished, sort of a thing. So when I'm in the midst of all of these mistakes, this person was kind of beside me through it all and never judged, never had a negative thing to say about anything, and was always just kind of there. Every now and again, he'd ask me to go to church. I'm just, no, that's not for me. And screw up after screw up after screw up, he would still be there. No judgment, you know, no anything. And then after about a decade, things began to kind of awaken inside of me, and I kind of remembered some of the lessons about Jesus and love one another and all of that. And it dawned on me that I've been experiencing this love from this person for this decade in the midst of all of these crises that I were in. And that kind of helped pull me out and help me make the turn that I needed to make in my life to kind of get just back on the right track in a number of different ways. And At that particular point in time, I had moved back to Greensburg. As soon as I moved back, within literally in less than a month, my mother passed away unexpectedly from a brain aneurysm. And we were coming to Johnstown to work. And that's where I met my current wife. And she took me to church. And, we went every week, and I really kind of got back into the swing of, trying to develop this relationship, which is what I should have been doing, all along as far as Jesus is concerned. And after a couple of years, we were asked to teach a Sunday school. And a lot of my nieces and nephews went to that church as well. And so we said, tentatively, sure, we'll go ahead and start that. And then that led into, hey, could you take over the youth group? And then when you start getting asked difficult questions from middle school and high schoolers, I decided that I needed a little bit more education. So the Church of the Brethren offered a 3-year track that you could get on, 12 courses, that when you were done, you were licensed, and then you could work your way into being ordained. So I took that 3-year track at that particular point in time. And I was really, my focus and what really kind of grew out of that was trying to find people like me in the midst of all of those problems in that decade where I had all of those issues. And the youth pastor turned into an associate pastor, and I was able to, spend time at another church for about 3 years under the guidance of a mentor who was wonderful, a very elderly man. And we would meet every week after the service, and he would, you did this great, you did this horribly, those types of things. And he was wonderful. And then had the opportunity to come to this particular church. And what I had been doing over the course of working with the youth in those 3 years at that church is you meet a lot of people and you see a lot of other churches that are doing things that are not necessarily what Jesus would have done or how he would have handled things if you would have, paid attention to him specifically in the Bible. And that really kind of opened my eyes, and I started to research and really found a lot of different churches that were doing amazing things, focusing on the command that Jesus left us with, which was to just love one another. He didn't tell us you need to go to church every week. He didn't tell us you need to do these particular worship activities. He didn't say you need to not do these things. He said, love one another, care for one another, be there for one another, all of those things. So spent time really researching churches and pastors that were doing that. And when we came to this church, we sat down. When they said, we want you to come here, we were kind of in the midst of a little bit of a break, because I'm bivocational, so I have a full-time job and I volunteer as a pastor. And when we came here, we went to the board and said, we have this list of things based on all these other churches that are doing it right. We want to be inclusive. We want to be accepting. We want to make sure that people that are different can come in and be part, not just necessarily be welcomed and then immediately told what they're doing wrong. We want to welcome people that have hard questions, that have doubts, that have concerns, and help them to be a part of what we have. And I think we're beginning to accomplish that. I've been talking a lot, so...
No, I feel like you just knocked out like a bunch of my... You kind of talked about this a little bit, but what is for? Can you explain?
So there's a group in the South called North Point Ministries. It's headed up by Andy Stanley, who's Charles Stanley's son. He started this church probably 25, 30 years ago. And he was actually the youth pastor at Charles Stanley's Baptist Church, the largest Baptist church in the country. And he decided that he was going to leave that church and start a church where unchurched people would feel comfortable. And that's kind of the same feeling that I got in the other churches that we went to, that was kind of like a Christian social club. And Jesus said, you need to go and really focus on people that don't know me and help to make disciples of them and help them follow me, as you go. And that really, one of the people that worked with Andy, his name is Jeff Henderson. He actually wrote a book called this. They were starting up a church in Gwinnett, Georgia. And they were building this church, and people started to wonder what this new building was coming up. And all he did, they put up a big sign next to the highway with the hashtag FOR. And people were, what's that? And then they were searching it, and they found out. Jeff's tagline that he came up with, I give him 100% of the credit, is for far too long the church has been known for what it's against, and we want to be known for what we're for. Because that's really kind of the essence of Jesus if you're paying attention to the Gospels. So they offered that up freely. I mean, we signed up to work with them for the first year or two. We actually contracted with them to help us, do this thing called FOR. And we launched a community initiative that uplifts other organizations within Johnstown that are helping people. Coffee shops and, personal trainers and a number of other people, photographers and people that are just all about trying to uplift and help other people. So that's where FOR Johnstown, came from. And so we have the shirts and, everything.
And thanks for lending me a shirt here.
That's our welcome gift to new people that come is a t-shirt that says FOR.
Oh, Actually, let me take a break. So this is the first remote broadcast, and we have somewhat of a live studio audience here. I am what a lot of people will call a creaster. You can drop the cur from it because it's just been Easter the past couple years.
Yeah.
I was here last Sunday for your service and
our service.
Yes, I like that. One thing that I thought of right away, and I think it really ties with FOR, is like a lot of people look at Johnstown and they say it's a dying city. Mm-hmm. Like there's no hope here. So my question for you is, why are you looking for the living among the dead?
Again, it just goes back to, we talk a lot about that here. We FOR is a big thing. Also with is a big thing. There are two types of people that come through our doors every week. People that are looking to help other people, that they understand what Jesus said, they understand his mandate, they understand what it is to love, they know that they've been given a lot and that they can take a portion of that and give it away, whether it's money, whether it's the time that they have to go cut somebody else's grass, or their talents. We have a number of people here that are CPAs and very smart financial people. So, there was a person that came here younger that was having some real tax problems. That person stepped up, to go help them. So the first group that comes in is the group that wants to help people, and the other group that comes are the people that need help. We really focus on getting people to develop relationships with the people that are here, but not in that uncomfortable, you see churches that have the congregations and the pastor, I want you to raise your hand and I want you to turn to the person next to you. And we know that people come in here that for a lot of people, it can be difficult, especially if you're coming from an uncomfortable situation from someplace else. So we try to make it as comfortable as we possibly can. And we just let people know, look, at the end of the day, we're here for you in whatever way that you need us to be. As far as, why you're searching for the living among the dead, we're not here to try to be the biggest church in Johnstown. We want to be the best community of people that's known for the love that we show. And that's it. The community is going to do what the community is going to do. We're hoping that we're something that the community can look at and say, this is a reason to stay, or this is a reason to go to school here in Johnstown instead of, going away to school, or there's a reason to come back because we can be part of this community that's amazing when they realize that whether you're here in a large community, whether you're in a smaller community, at the end of the day, it's the cohesiveness and the love of that community that people really try to experience. You hear it's a great family town, great place to raise a family, or, that kind of a thing.
I know when Liz and I first moved here with the kids, I don't know if I've told you this before, but we moved here from Altoona, so not that far, but I just feel that Johnstown is painted in such a negative light. I say that we've never felt as close of connections as we do here.
Yeah.
It's an amazing town.
Well, I agree 100%. I think too, if you watch the news, everything's negative. All of those, you just watch it and this is bad, and people are starting to run, oh, here's our happy, 30 seconds, for this particular cast. I really just think people just are negatively focused these to try to bring something back that's positive, I think is, really needed.
Mm-hmm. If it bleeds, it leads.
Yeah. A lot of churches around here as well can be very negative as well. If you're not doing this right, if you're, doing this wrong, if you're not doing this specific thing, they can be cause a lot of pressure and just come across as negative, right? Again, it's that whole, we want to be known for what we're for, not for, what we're against.
What would you say is the difference between organized religion and personal faith?
Oh, that's tricky. I think the best way to answer that today, I have a lot of young people or families that have young people that are coming that are actually opening the Bible. When I was young, I was given a Bible. I was told it's the inerrant word of God. Everything in it's true. It's no errors. It's perfect. And I took it home and I put it on my shelf and, well, that's the word of God. Everything in it's true. So, that's just kind of what you do. And then you go to the church and you listen to the preacher up in front and he says these things. And of course, everything that he says is 100% true and, all of that. And then you develop this, stereotype of everything. And it's I think the organized religion, if you will, especially around here right now, is based on the person in the pulpit. I'll say the man in the pulpit, because there are very few women in the pulpit around here. That's a whole other discussion that we can have. But that person in the pulpit decides, this is right, this is wrong, this is left, this is right, this is up, this is down. And, a lot of times they'll control the board or the organization around it, and that's just the way that it is. Here, I always brag that I report to 5 women who are on our board here. We're not a big believer in the Timothy verses that say women shouldn't speak or preach or any of those things, but I am very cognizant of the fact that I am no different than everybody sitting in the congregation. There are a lot of churches where the person in the pulpit, they have a deeper relationship with God. They have a closer relationship with God. One of the churches that we've been to, people would go around and they would give prayer requests. I need this prayer for my son who's sick. I need this prayer for this particular situation. And then the person in the pulpit would go ahead and repeat all of those. So the impression that you're giving is that he needs to say them in order for them to count. And if you pay attention... The middleman, exactly. Yeah. And if you pay attention, if you build it all onto that person in the pulpit, it's no longer a relationship. It's that structured, this is how we kind of have to do it way. And, I'm very cognizant of the fact that I am no different than anybody in the pulpit. I will not let anybody call me pastor because that word has weight to it. And I see it all the time when I'm introduced. This is Pastor Paul, or this is Paul, the pastor of,
I'll probably
church.
Use pastor in the thumbnail, but...
You do quotations. When I do a marriage ceremony, I don't say by the power vested in me. Now, obviously, there's, I'm allowed to do ceremonies from a state perspective, but as far as the, 2 people committing to one another, they're committing in front of God. I'm there.
You're just the middleman.
Helping them, exactly. But I'm not required. And that's a whole, deep ceremony. Again, you have the religious side, or the spiritual side, if you will, of marriage, and then you have the governmental side. That's a whole other thing. But I am a huge believer in that you need a personal relationship with Jesus, with God. However you're, viewing that person. My personal belief based on the Bible is Jesus said, look, if you want to know who God is, I've been with you. He told the disciples, I've been with you. You've seen how I act. You've seen what I say. You've seen how I respond to different situations. that's God. And I think he came to kind of set things straight, because I think, and this book is amazing, Jesus Unbound, where Keith Giles, who's a lot smarter than I am, all the people in these books are much smarter than I am, he went through and he said, look, his theory is that people in the Old Testament that wrote the Old Testament were trying to understand who God was. And they were working at it. And Jesus came and said, look, I've come to fulfill all of that. Whatever was going on with Israel, I'm here now. And from now on, here's the one command I have for you. I want you to love one another. I want you to go and tell people about me and love them and show them and do all of these servant first things that I've been telling you to do. So that's my personal, I believe that I spend a lot of time in the Gospels paying attention to not just what Jesus said, but how he acted and how he reacted and what he did in different situations. And that's really what I try to model and what I try to get across to other people that come to our services or are part of our community in some way, shape, or form. We're in the process of trying to eliminate, the member side of things here, which I think gets really tricky too.
So you're like right in the midst of organized religion and personal relationship. Would you say it's you're still kind of walking that line a little bit? Oh, yeah, definitely. We are organized. We have a constitution. We have bylaws. We have to have a meeting every year and things like that. But we are in the process of trying to, I've seen many churches, right? We're going to replace the carpet. Do we go with red or blue? It seems to be the only colors that churches go with. And I've seen congregations literally torn apart, because you have the board group that says, okay, we're going to go with red, and then they bring it to the congregation for a vote, and then the congregation's like, no, we really want blue. And then you have half and half, and people are mad, and then people leave. What we're in the midst of attempting to do is eliminating the congregational pressure of operating the church. The key is to have the right people on the board. You need to have people with a servant's heart that are all about other people. And thankfully, we have so many people in our midst that are just amazing, givers. People are in the hospital. People show up with gift cards and with meals. Again, I told you about the person with the tax problem, cutting people's, just helping them in whatever way that they can. So if you have those types of people running the organization where it's all about doing for others and not doing for yourself, it can be amazing things. So yes, we try to have as little structure, but we use that structure in a way that helps people. We try to provide a foundation or an environment where people can develop their own relationship. We have people that come in, it's like, I don't believe in Jesus, but I want to kind of come along. This is the perfect place for you to do that, because that's all Jesus told us to do. Follow, right? He didn't go up to Matthew, the tax collector, and say, hey, Matthew, you have to make all of your, taxes right that you've cheated people on. You need to go back and repair things with your family. You need to do all of these things. Then you can kind of come along. He just said, come on along. And over the course of time, you're going to see and you're going to witness and you're going to experience and you're going to understand. And Matthew got to that point where he said, I believe that you are who you say you are, the promised Messiah. And I'm here for it. So to kind of take that to a personal level, we've talked a little bit about this in the past, but I was raised very churched. It was just how it is, you know? And I just felt like I saw some inconsistencies within various churches where I went. There were I felt a lot of issues that I couldn't necessarily get over. Like, speaking of prayer, you said about the prayer requests, it was always, if you pray hard enough, this will happen. If you do this, and it's
Santa Claus.
It's like, what happened to the part where Jesus said, not mine, but your will be done?
Right.
And it's like, how often do we pray that? Let me be okay with where this goes. Yeah.
We had an interesting discussion about prayer. We really try to, I don't encourage the daily reading of the Bible from beginning to end. I encourage specific study in areas that you're trying to, whether you're struggling with or you just want to learn more about. And I tell people, when you read the Bible, think of it from this perspective or, that perspective. One of the perspectives is prayer. And if you read the Bible, corporate prayer is not a thing. You're told to do it on your own. Go in a room and close the door. And that's your time to be able to, talk to God, to take him the things that are concerning you, to take him the things that are problems. God, I don't understand this. Or God, I'm in the middle of this thing. I'm not ready to get out of it yet. Like I can't break up with him. Like I know I should, but I can't. And, to have that struggle, if you will. Our corporate prayer here, we have prayer during our services. It's, we have a list of people that are looking for prayer. They're listed. But when I pray, I don't go back over everything because we're told he knows what we need before we even ask. So anyhow, that was my little bit about prayer.
Yeah.
We have some people here. It's wonderful because we have, kids that are 1 year, and we have people here that are 95. And, we try as best we can to, we have many different types of music. And, when it comes to, sitting down and having a discussion, maybe you should eliminate corporate prayer. There are many people that have grown up and that that's part of their relationship. It's part of what helps them along their journey. And, we would never just, okay, we're going to eliminate it. Maybe 30 years from now when, this group is up and coming, maybe we'll take a look at that.
One quote that I saw recently, and this again goes along with kind of some of the other churches.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to speak negatively, but
well, it's funny because we're using community now more than we are church, because it's the same thing. We say we're Jesus followers, and so we talk about being a Jesus follower within our community. A lot of people say we're Christians at church, but right now it's really tricky. When you say the word Christian or church, there's a group of people that don't want anything to do with you,
right?
Because of the actions of other.
One of those. But okay, so I think about that a lot, and I think a lot of it is that I have judged God on followers, on his followers.
Yeah.
So
we can talk about that.
And
often.
it's. I know that the problem is mine there when it comes to that. But the quote, it is, I've noticed the moment that love becomes unconditional, some people feel like the roles are being broken. And to me, I feel like that should be your motto.
It's again, given my past, and there are a lot of people that I talk to that have similar pasts, that are like, I tell my wife, I don't know where I'd be if I wouldn't have met her and her family. Her father was a pastor. And, the unconditional love that was shown to me first by my friend, and then by my wife, and then by her family. It's a model, that I personally have, that I think everybody's, looks a little bit different. We're not the sum of our mistakes. We're not the sum of our bad decisions. And, we shouldn't be judging other people, by where they came from. So when you come through our doors, none of that matters. Like you're among people that care for you. You're among people that want to help you. If you're in that group, if you come through our doors, like I'm ready to get involved, and, we have ways for you to, connect to other people who are looking for the type of help that you're willing to give.
I think one of my favorite things about you is I think comfort might be the wrong word, but maybe I'll try comfort in not knowing.
Oh, yeah.
And that's something that I have probably never seen it from maybe anyone, actually.
Yeah, I've had numerous people ask me a question, and I just say, look, I don't know. And it's based on, what I've read in the Bible as well as a whole lot of other books. And if somebody else tells you they do know, first of all, I'd be really interested in how they got to that particular decision, because, and I'll take as much time as they need to explain the I don't know part, and where most of the time they're coming they went to another church, or they looked up something online, at some other churches or denominations website, and are coming with, what about this? And it's like, I don't know. All of those other people that are telling you one thing or another is based on their opinions or somebody else's version, or we've always done it that way, or things like that. There's so many I don't knows in the Bible. And I think that's where our personal relationship can develop, a little bit more. Through experiences, I think you pick up not necessarily the answers to those I don't knows, but just, to use your word, the comfort in not knowing.
Let me ask you this. Is hell real?
Ooh. For me, and the books that I've read, and the study that I've done, and this is back to when you read the Bible, come at it from this perspective. And, Rob Bell is kind of a lightning rod, to a lot of people, but there are many other theologians, like right now with the age of the internet, that started, 30 years ago. We now have AI, and there's so many tools now that are helping, again, people that are way smarter than I am, theologians, historians, linguists, cultural experts, all of these people that are coming back saying, this is what it really meant, or this is, all those things. I grew up in there is a hell and there is a devil, and if he's constantly attacking you and he's coming after you. And again, my personal belief is that those have been manufactured. In Genesis, where it talks about the snake, it's the snake. Where Lucifer and Satan and all of those different things are listed in the Bible. If you, again, depending on the theologians that you're working with and the people that you're following and the authors that are out there really trying to answer these questions, you can read the Bible, understanding that when Jesus is talking about all of the times that he mentioned things or places where people take those as hell, Gehenna was a place that, I'm sure you've heard of before, the garbage dump that was always on fire. People took the dead there, they took their garbage there. It was constantly on fire, constantly burning. So he talks about an actual physical place. But when Jesus talks about what people are understanding as hell, he really just means being dead, being, done here. And again, I'm nobody. This is my own personal opinion. And we talk about this often with people. And, I forgot what I was going to say.
That's perfect.
Couldn't have been that important.
That's perfect. I love it. For me, it was Rob Bell. Over the years, I was constantly questioning, and like I said before, I admit that I judged a number of people, Christian people.
Yeah. And
when I found Rob Bell, it was eye-opening for me.
Yeah, again, it's one of those, when you find somebody, and again, I've found multiple people, many people that have read the Bible and have spent so much time in it, and they come back with, have you considered? Or, look at it this way, or this is what this means. And Rob, again, I think Rob's taken a lot of heat from a lot of people.
He was thrown out of the church, I think, around the time that he came out with some of this.
Yeah, still going. But it's not a popular position. And again, we go back to their churches that use hell and Satan to, for lack of a better term, control or put fear into people, where, you better be doing these things, and you're a parent. I'm a parent. We view God. Jesus tells us to view him as our Father. And I look at my kids and I think, is there anything that my child could ever do that I would want them to experience eternal discomfort, right? However you imagine, hell to be. And there's nothing that my children could ever do to be that. And people are like, well, what if you don't believe in Jesus and you don't? And there's some churches and some denominations so focused on that. And then you get the people, it's like, well, if they haven't said that prayer about Jesus, and then we always go to the tribe in Africa. That's what everybody talks about. The tribe in Africa that's never heard of Jesus. Are they going to be in heaven? I believe they're going to be in heaven. The angel that announced the birth of Jesus said, good news of great joy for all people. It wasn't the people that are going to eventually believe in him or anything along that line. So again, it's all about where you decide to put your weight in the Bible. And I think that there are people, there's so many people there. There were some people that came before, a family that came, and they're wonderful. Love them. And they're the ones that, I did a small group study with them on one of Rob's books. And they really had, basically like PTSD from like normal, church services because of the way that they grew up and how they experience things. And I hope one day, they're able to come back and that they can, get over that. That's where I think people are so, traumatized. I heard somebody talk just because it was Easter. It was a woman and it was online, and she said, look, I'm a nanny. And if the kids that I'm watching, I would go to them and tell them, hey, there's this thing called torture. And, torture is where you, do these things and then listing off like specific things that hurt people. And then I actually showed them people being tortured. She said, I would lose my job. In some places, I'd be put in jail. She said, I'd never be able to work as a nanny again. She said, but look what some churches are doing with obviously they're talking about the resurrection as well. But, here, we don't talk about inherent sin to our Sunday school kids. No inherent sin, no hell, and no Satan. So they grow up in an environment where it's all the positive aspects of Jesus. We don't get into any of that, and we work with the parents on when to introduce those particular things into their life moving forward.
You would introduce something like that, even though you don't necessarily believe it? Is that what you're saying? Or
which part?
Maybe I was, because you said like how you don't teach hell, Satan.
Right. We work with parents on that. So if a family comes here and they're like, look, we heard what you said about hell and Satan. We're not in that place. We love it here. We love the people here. We're coming here. We have our own personal, we work with the parents on when that's introduced to their children or if they ask advice. But we truly believe, we use the Orange curriculum here, and very renowned, very well known. And the parents get papers that they take home, every week when the kids have Sunday school and things like that. And, we've had parents come and say, okay, I think my child's old enough. I'd really kind of like to talk to them about some of the things that, have scarred other young people, as they get older and things like that.
Okay, I respect that. I feel the best way.
Right. Again, I will be the first one to admit if somebody comes to me with proof and says, no, here's exactly why there is hell. First of all, I'll listen to them. If somebody comes to me and says, there's a hell, my response is not, no, you're wrong. It's, let's talk and let's explain. And some of those conversations will go on for weeks and months and years. Because it's all about just, learning.
Yeah. To me, hell is in the mind. You create your own hell by your, reacting? Or
reactions.
Response.
Yeah.
Yes.
Reactions. Responses are good.
Yes. Reactions. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, to me, it's, if I go out and murder someone, I'm creating a hell. I'm probably going to spend the rest of my life in prison. Even like just decisions I make throughout the day. We definitely create our own hells.
Yeah.
For sure.
Armstrong is on the moon. Neil Armstrong.
Okay, just kind of a follow-up question. Is Hitler in hell?
No, because there's no hell. Those are questions that I actually had a youth ask. It was really, is Judas in hell? And it was when we were working with the youth and we went to ask the pastor of that church, and he said, of course he's in hell. Well, that started a conversation that lasted literally about a year, because every week they'd come back, and we taught when we were youth leaders, we said that you shouldn't believe the person in the pulpit just because they're in the pulpit. Like, you have to spend some time and you have to figure it out. You need to study not just in the Bible, but around the Bible. The way the Bible was created, there's all kinds of drama, to whether it's a different translation or how it was compiled. There are a whole lot of, they call them apocryphal books that were written by people back then. A lot of them women. That are not there because a group of people said
we can't put those.
No. So So we taught you need to, work through that on your own.
I feel like you're at the point where that's what your belief, but you're not like stuck to that.
Right.
In a way.
I started to run about 12 years ago when my brother-in-law was diagnosed with brain cancer. Before that, in church, we talk about being comfortable being uncomfortable. And then I started to run, and I understood what being comfortable being uncomfortable is. And I think that truly is sometimes you're not going to know, or sometimes you're not, it's not the, answer to your prayer that you were looking for. It's not the way that you would have solved the problem. All those different things can be hard. And I think it's, it's the community that you're a part of when you're going through those things is how, I think we grow. I think, there are certain communities that are, I'll tell a personal story. When our youngest was diagnosed with autism, we went to the front of the church, and they, did laying on of hands and things like that. And we had some people come up and tell us that, we needed to do these specific things to get Satan out of our house too. And that was the reason that our daughter, was autistic. And then after you spending time understanding what autism is and all the amazing things that she's capable of and some of the things that, she struggles with and things like that, it's just in that community at that time with that situation, it made us feel worse. It made us more confused. It didn't help us draw closer to God. It didn't, you're going through all these things and you're wondering why, and, why do good things happen to, or bad things happen to good people and stuff like that. Here, we're not, well, it's because you did this and you didn't do this. And it's like, look, here's so-and-so, and they went through something really similar, and they're going to be able to give you their perspective. And here's a family that, had that. And it's just all about, being able to talk and spend time with somebody that's been where you are. And I'm not a big chapter and verse person, but the Apostle Paul said that there's nothing that we're going to go through that's something that somebody hasn't already gone through before us. And the key is just putting those two people together. I talk about my train wrecks. And I'm very open with people that come in that had problems, similar problems to what I had, real problems with finances. And now I can sit down and tell somebody like, look, here's where I was and here's how deep I was into it. And it's twice as bad as what they're going through. And then we have somebody that's a CPA saying, well, you can do this and this and this and this. And, it's going to look better at this particular point in time. And that gives them not just the hope, but the camaraderie, the community, saying, I'm not that different from everybody else. And we really try to break down that, there's nothing wrong with, I don't need help. I'm very clear with people. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a professional like that. But we work with a group, Switch Mental Health, where we recommend people that are, struggling mentally, emotionally, where it's not a biblical question or a community question.
Mm-hmm. Isn't everything a biblical question, though?
No. I've had many people, you shouldn't go to that church because it's not a biblical church. It's like, we do use the Bible.
Okay. I'm not using any names, but we were talking about we touched on the topic of women in church in the past. So in Johnstown, something that struck me odd, we were close with some people who went to, I believe, a Mennonite church, and they had a female pastor. And I thought, because I was raised Baptist Catholic, and it's no, that is no way. And it struck me that was okay, but they were completely against interracial marriage. Like, to me, that's it's so that's more archaic than not allowing females. And
it gets back to being biblical, right? The Bible's been used for so many things. The Crusades, let's go kill tens of thousands of people, and let's go kill other Christians. And well, I don't know exactly how far back, but the Bible was manipulated in a way where it really, supported slavery. And then, more recently, it's been all about keeping women, out of the pulpit. What's interesting in a lot of those churches is they won't let women in the pulpit. They won't let women on the board. But if you go back to their Sunday schools, the women are doing all of the teaching back there. So, yeah, if you look at Paul, who wrote the verses where it said, you should not, permit women to speak. And again, it's in most of these books that I brought with me that are all about reading the Bible in a better way. Paul talks about, if you look at the life of Paul, right, not just the specific things that he said, but look at, the tone, he uplifted women all over the place. And there were women prophets, and there were women disciples, and there were women, there were a lot of women that supported Jesus financially, while he was there. So, yeah, we're huge. There's another pastor that's here. She's a female. There are a number of different people that come in and will fill the pulpit. Like I had my shoulder operated on a little bit ago, and there's another woman that's in the middle of her ministry classes right now, and she came in and preached a 3-week sermon and things like that. So, and racially as well. Again, back to the slavery. Obviously, back then there were more black people, as part of that, and I still think that part of that ripples, up into today. So again, it's how people use the Bible and the verses that they choose to kind of stand on, which we are not a verse-driven church. We're the person, character, essence, actions of Jesus is what we pay attention to. As Jesus said, on the beach before he ascended into heaven, all authority on heaven and on earth has been given to me, and I want you to love one another. And at the end of the day, that's how simple it is.
See, I always try to explain my point of view just saying, I feel that, like, as going back to is Hitler in hell or some of those things, I just feel like that's not my job.
Right.
And I feel that you say that in such a, like, an eloquent way. I'm just like, nope, that's above my pay grade.
Right.
I'm out.
The other big thing, that people come in that, the other conversation I have, in addition to the hell and Satan, is sin. There's been so much previous churches that we went to, churches online, books that I've read and things like that. Homosexuality is a huge lightning rod. And we are a church that believes sin is something that hurts me. If I do something to myself, I go out and spend money that I don't have. I put myself in debt. I can't pay my bills. That is sin because I'm hurting myself.
You're creating your own hell.
Exactly. I'm creating a situation where the ramifications of that decision are going to hurt me. I'm going to have collections people calling me. I'm not going to be able to afford my bills. I'm going to be very tense with my wife and my children. I'm not going to be able to do as good a job at my job. Things like that. Or if I hurt you, I do something that hurts you. If you read the Bible and take a look at sin, right? There are a lot of people, this is an abomination, and this is this and this and that. And again, if you read around the Bible to all people that are a lot smarter than I am coming back saying, this is really what that means. And based on the culture and based on, the relationships, back then when they were talking about marriage, women were property. Like you could legally go out and kill your wife. It talks about
They are still, right? Women are
dashing children against the rocks, like killing them, right? Like that's all in there. And I find it amazing when people pick and choose, specific things that are in there. So sin is another big thing that people come, and I've had conversations with people, young and old, that are very, very worried about being in sin. And when we explain to them, look, this is how we believe it. This is how we interpret it. This is how we see it. The original people talk about putting the 10 Commandments up in school. I find it amazing that they just don't want to put up the one from Jesus, love one another. There are actually over 630 commandments in the Old Testament, and that was all about keeping Israel healthy and set. And again, completely different culture, completely different time, completely different structure, completely different political, completely different organization, so many different things that are different. And the fact that people are standing on things today, and we've had people come in. We have some chairs out front that are multicolored that let people know, look, you're safe here if you're part of the LGBTQ IA plus community that makes up a whole lot of people. You're safe to come here. You'll be included. We're including you in what we do, and not just you're welcome to come here and then we're going to work on your sin. You're welcome to come and participate and do all of the things that we do here. We're not going to exclude you from doing things. So it's that, talking about sin like that with people, for a lot of people, it's just lifted this weight off of their shoulders where they understand, like, that is so easy to understand that it's not a list of behaviors or, all of those, things that are used by other organizations and other churches, that it's hurt. And that hurt has ramifications, and that's the pain that you deal with. And a lot of people are like, well, it's because you sinned and God is causing that, to happen. I always talk about, a lot of people see God with a furrowed brow and like pointing at you. And that isn't how God is. God, if we truly believe he's like a father, I see my kids stumble, right? When you're kids, and you have some kids that are adults now, and they talk about you have to let them skin their knee a little bit. That was the hardest thing for us as parents. And I truly, honestly believe that that's how God is. He sees us skin our knees, and he is just as upset, if not more upset than we are, because we're going to experience the pain that goes with that hurt. So
That was solid.
And here we go.
To kind of stay on that topic, this past fall you had your first lesbian wedding.
So there was a same-sex wedding here in this building.
Okay.
And people call us, whether they're part of this community or not, and say, can we use your church? And we say, of course you can, do. So we don't say, well, who's getting married? Because we know that there are, venues around here for receptions that if it's a same-sex wedding, they won't, happen. I have participated in numerous same-sex unions, including the one, that was here. Somebody very close to me that means a lot to me years and years and years ago, over a decade, came out. And, it was a difficult situation because I had actually given messages from the pulpit that, being gay was wrong and it was a sin. And, there's somebody in my past, was a young person that came to our church and was there for that message and has not been back to church. And that bothers me every day, that I said something that caused somebody else to step further away from Jesus, God. And to this day, I continue to study it. And there are so many medical professionals, physical, mental, emotional, all these people that have done studies that gender has nothing to do with sexuality. Sexuality has nothing to do with gender. And the example that I always give is a hermaphrodite is a baby that's born with both sets of sexual genitalia. And years ago, the doctor would come out to the parents and say, do you want a boy or do you want a girl? And the parents would say, well, we want a boy. So the surgeon would go in and cut off the female genitalia. And back then, they were wrong a lot of the time, where that person, they said they wanted a boy, and that person grew up and at some point along their life said, I'm a female. And, hermaphrodites have to take pills and things like that based on, that decision. But now medical professionals are saying, look, your child was born a hermaphrodite. You need to wait until they're old enough and you discover whether they are male or female. And then we will do the surgical operation to remove the non-needed organ and leave them, correct. So listening to people, I look at my wife. I'm very attracted to my wife. I think she's beautiful. I think she's, I am attracted to her physically. And,
you hear this, Amy?
And I've had people, explain to me, look, like when you look at another man, like I don't feel that way. And, talking to somebody that's gay, they're like, the way you look at your wife is the way that I look at somebody of the same sex.
But that's sin, right? That's their sin.
To me, no, it's not. It's not.
I'm just playing devil's advocate. I do not believe
I can
that.
Appreciate, no. Nor do I. So again, I did a lot of studying from a professional perspective, doctors and research studies and all of these different things. And then I started to talk to people that were gay. And there are a number of couples, and I won't put any of their names in here, but they know who they are. And I still remember the first couple. I went up to them in a coffee shop in Johnstown, and I said, and I knew the two of them were in a relationship, and I said, could I take you out to dinner and buy you dinner, and could I ask you some really, really difficult questions? And of course, they graciously said yes, of course. And we sat at Panera Bread, and it must have been for 2 hours. And they were the most gracious, open, talking about all the difficult things, that they had to endure. And then that set off just reaching out to anybody and everybody that I could that I knew. And, the people that I know now that are gay, all of them will tell you, if you knew them, that I've come to them looking for advice. I've come to them on, hey, we're doing this. What do you think? The chairs that we have in our lobby, it just says all are welcome and safe here across, a rainbow of colors, and people know what that means when they come in. A couple that I participated in their wedding were up in vacation in New England, and they saw these chairs and they sent me a picture. And I'm like, that's a fantastic idea, and, put them together here. So based on the studies that I've done and the fact that there are literally millions of people in this world that are gay, the ceremonies that I've participated in, and listening to the struggles that these people have had in their lives with family members that won't talk to them, or, being discriminated against in one way, shape, form, or another, especially by the church, by people that haven't taken the time to understand or, pay attention. There are two books that I brought here. The Moral Vision of the New Testament. It's by Richard Hayes. This was written about 25 years ago, and it was used by so many churches. About 20,000 copies of this book were sold. And it was kind of the handbook for churches to use to not permit LGBTQ people to be a part of their church, that it was a sin. The same man with his son, a couple of years ago, basically wrote saying that he was wrong in this first book. And this is called The Widening of God's Mercy, and how there are numerous examples that he gives in the Bible, but just how God's mercy continues to widen kind of, as we come along. And he basically says that it is not a sin, and that we need to be welcoming to this community. And then all of these books as well that talk about Jesus Unbound. The other one was Better Ways to Read the Bible. Ben Kremer wrote another book. There are many, 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 many books that help us understand that this community needs to be accepted, not excluded. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's when people come up and ask, would you help us with our service? It's always yes. I'm always happy to help them.
Is that
No, I'm good.
killing
I
you?
love the sun.
Okay, great.
Unless it's messing you up.
No. Actually, let me double check.
Okay.
I'm just about.
Because you can pull that. Well, it's not. It's in the rounded part.
Is there a sermon topic that you wouldn't initially say yes to?
A sermon topic I wouldn't say yes to. I spent a lot of time in churches where the messages were always threatening, negative, guilt-ridden. When I spent the 3 years at that other church with the elderly pastor, he was wonderful. We'd get together, and I always remember, and he would remember him saying this, is that you need to leave people with hope. Like, there are many reasons that people come to church. Some are looking for community. Some are looking for help. Some are looking for, a pause in their life. Some are looking for, a new perspective. Some are looking to praise. Some are looking to praise. We have the 8 Ps that we call them here. Some are looking to ponder, what am I doing? How am I doing it? And things like that. So the message that we give here, we actually are a North Point partner church. So most of the messages that I give actually come from them. Multiple pastors put them together. They have a lot of very educated theologians, so they're always correct. I take them and edit them to kind of, fit them into our particular group. And again, I work full-time at a job, and then I'm, talking to people that want to talk and performing marriages and talking about baptism and looking for help. To put together a sermon message takes a lot of time to do it correctly. So that's why I use these outlines. So the messages that we give always are based primarily on the Gospels, if not primarily on the New Testament. Now, this time we're talking about in the Old Testament with Joseph. But they always have a value to situations that people are currently dealing with today. It's not, I'm going to give a message about, Abraham and Isaac, going up and on the mountain, and God told them to, kill Isaac and, stuff like that. We try to tie it into, Joe the truck driver, or so-and-so that's having financial problems, or so-and-so that's having relational problems. The messages that we give, we try to make uplifting and, provide solutions to real world problems.
That was an answer that I did not expect at all.
Okay.
It makes sense, though.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
I was expecting something like, I don't know if I want to even bring anything up, but just like something that maybe is like viewed as taboo or something like that direction. But I
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that. We are the last 2 months or so, I've been very slowly bringing particular situations in around politics and the government. And that's very tricky right now because there's a rise of something called Christian nationalism. And I actually sorry, I keep moving away from the mic. Brought this in. It's from Ben Kremer. He wrote it, and it's kind of the field guide to Christian nationalism, what it is, why it matters, and how to respond. Christianity's being used to further an agenda that really has nothing to do with the teachings of Jesus. It's a way to manipulate people forward. So when the administration passed they eliminated part of the SNAP program. And Jesus tells us that we need to care for the needy, protect the immigrants, care for those, that are poor. Pulling out SNAP benefits is something that doesn't really fit in that scenario. So we're starting, and again, one of the P's we have is, to ponder. So we're actually beginning to wade into how Christianity is being used by, I'm just saying the government, right? I'm not necessarily going to get into parties and things like that, but how it's being misused and misrepresented. And, it's interesting. The first time I mentioned it about the SNAP thing, then I mentioned that at one point they were going to completely eliminate the citizenship of Haitians. And they wanted to deport all the Haitians back to Haiti. And our church denomination does a lot in Haiti, and we were not for that at that particular time. So the times that I've mentioned things that have to do with the government, there were people that came up to me after church and said, I love that, and we need to talk more about that. And then, there were some people that were like, whoa, like, that's government. And it's like, look, if Jesus were here, he would be the one talking about, these systems. I have a slide ready for tomorrow, but I don't have it with me. It's basically, look, the Bible doesn't teach us how to use power to get ahead spiritually. And in fact, Jesus was against those systems. When Peter pulled out the sword and, cut off the ear of the person in Gethsemane, Jesus, put away your sword. Like, that's not how we do things as my followers. We're here to serve people and to help people. Like, that's what we do. So we're starting to introduce that a little bit more. It'll probably be more of our small group study on Wednesdays than it will be on the Sunday service, but we're still going to bring it up so people know to kind of watch out for it. We are definitely not a Christian nationalist church.
You need to let me know when that will be, because I
Wednesday
will be in
night,
attendance.
6 o'clock.
Okay.
More than welcome.
All right. Paul, can we do some rapid fire questions?
Sure.
You have about 5 seconds to answer each one.
Okay.
I normally would do like fire lighting behind. I have an effect for that, but I thought that might not be appropriate. Just, moon landing, true or false?
True.
Yesterday or tomorrow?
Tomorrow. Using yesterday.
Okay. Do you prefer absolute truth or honest doubt?
Ooh. Honest doubt.
I kind of thought that's what you would go with. Free will or divine plan?
Free will.
Wow, that's not what I expected. Love or doctrine?
Love.
You're getting some bonus ones in here. If you could ask God one question, what would it be?
It's funny. We always talk about, this is going to be longer than 5 seconds. People talk about getting to heaven. When I get to heaven, I'm going to ask. And I think when we get to, we're going to be just in such awe, like you're going to forget about all those things. But I think I'm to the point in my life where, and this is going to sound really strange, but to me personally, it just makes sense. I lost my mother unexpectedly. I've had some real setbacks in my life. But people have always been there to pull me through. And, that's how I have experienced, and I tell people all the time, you're not going to experience God reading the Bible. And some people just freak out when I say that. All of the times that I have experienced God's love, it has been with another person, across from them, next to them, whatever it is. That's how I've experienced His love. And it's where I'm at in my, I'm on the downhill side. And, I get it. Jesus came and He kind of straightened it out. And I think if we can just make it as simple as He tried to make it, I think we're good.
So wait, what's your question?
I'm good.
What's your question for God then? You don't have
I don't
one?
have any. No
Wow.
question. It makes sense to me. That's why, the free will versus the divine. God gave us free will. And people talk about, predestination, and they talk about, all these different things. Your life's already completely laid out in front of you. I don't believe that, because if it was true free will, and this is where all the religious types that spend time in pulpits will sit and argue with you. But, the free will piece that you can, I can go do anything I want. But because I've paid attention to how Jesus did it and how he treated people and how he acted towards people, and believe me, I'm not perfect and I still, work on things, but it just makes sense to me. And it's like, I don't have any, I'm sure there are a lot of people that like, well, why did you let this happen? And why did you let this happen? And and this is going to sound really bad to some people, but in some ways, like, those things just don't matter. When my mother passed away, I was devastated because she was, the parent. My father worked overseas for years and years and years and years. I don't remember him ever being at home. He would be home for a couple weeks during the year, and that would be it. So I really didn't have a relationship with him. And she was the one I had the relationship with, and she was like the pincushion between the four of us as kids. And, she died. And it was a long time where I didn't like God. I hated God. I, had a real problem with all of that. But then you start experiencing other people going through the same thing, and you kind of grow from there. And, we have these bodies that have issues with them, and, she had an aneurysm, it burst, and that was that. I don't think he caused it. I don't think, there's anybody up there pulling strings. I do believe that we can take those situations and act within them to bring glory to God, if that makes sense. Not necessarily at that time, but in the future. I've talked to many people that have unexpectedly lost a parent and have been able to show them my understanding. And it kind of gets back to what we talked about earlier. When you're going through something, you want somebody next to you that's gone through that with you. So that's a really, really long answer for I don't have any questions for God.
No, it kind of takes me to, I have, for a few years, I've struggled with free will.
Yeah.
Because I often wonder, like, if God is all knowing, then he knows what then my next minute's going to be, my next day, my next year.
Yeah, so I don't think
so. You don't?
I don't.
So then God is not all knowing?
He's all knowing, but I don't think it has anything to do with the future.
Ooh, that's
as we talked before,
an interesting take.
He created the world, and in my simplistic approach, we talked about it in tonight's message, things got off kilter, and then he wades back in with Abraham. Like, he's sitting up there, wherever, and he's looking, saying, this isn't going the way that I thought it was going to go. And I'm going to wade in, and I'm going to catch up with this guy, Abraham. I'm going to work with him, and we're going to grow this nation, and then we're going to go. Then Abraham does his thing, and everything, keeps going along. And, the prophets talked about, a Messiah that's coming, all those different things that occur. But then Jesus comes. And I think it's very similar to what happened with Abraham. And it gets into the, people say God doesn't make mistakes. Well, I'll show you multiple mistakes that God make in the Bible if you want me to. And if God knew everything that was going to happen from now until the end of time, he wouldn't have had to do the Abraham thing. Would you have had to have sent your son? I don't know. Again, those are those I don't know questions. But I truly believe that nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow, because we have free will to do whatever we want to do tomorrow.
Before I wrap, I did want to ask you, what do you think for this community that you're part of? What do you think it will look like 5, 10, 20 years down the road?
I hope.
Or what's your vision?
So it's funny. My wife was just talking about that the other day, vision. Our vision is just to continue to do what we're doing, and that's to love one another. There are churches that have plans, and we're going to go out and plan other churches, and we're going to do these things. And I forget what the law is. They talk about it, in the corporate setting, but you get a group larger than 150 people, you tend to lose it. It's too hard to manage at that point. And there are all kinds of different, corporate studies that are done around there. And that's kind of where we're at right now, about 150-ish, people that attend between the two services. We don't really stress attendance here. So, people are traveling. You're not going to get a letter saying, excuse me, where were you? Any of those things. So like tonight, Saturday night, we were lightly attended because it's a beautiful day outside. People are spending time with their family or doing what they're doing. Maybe there are more people that come tomorrow. 5, 10, 50 years from now, I don't think it matters. I think that there will still be a community of people that come here that want to care for one another. When I first met with the board here, I came in and I gave them my list, everything that I wanted to do. And I told them we want to be accepting to the LGBTQ community. We want to start this other service called Grace Fellowship that has nothing whatsoever to do with the Church of the Brethren. Like, we're going to call it something completely different, even though it's a ministry of our church. And we're going to do this for Johnstown thing. And we're going to not make a big deal, out of the offertory. We're going to call it giving. And, we're not going to tell people you have to give 10% and all these different things. And I just went down the list because my wife and I decided, we're going to give them our list, and if they don't take the list, then we're going to, go someplace else. And the board, to their credit, I was outside for about 30 seconds, and they called me back in, and they said, go. And they explained to me, and back then there were 9 people on the board. The average age then was probably 85. And these people that a lot of people would misjudge as, set in their ways, and this is the way that we do it, and we've never done it that way before. They said, look, this community of people and this building was here for us when we were young, when we went through difficult situations, when we got married, when we buried our parents. This community of people was here. And I think that's what I would envision 5, 10, 50 years from now, is that this community is still here as part of the community. We have a gym that's used for, many different things, birthday parties, sports, things like that. We have a lot of classrooms. We'd love to get like a daycare in here and, to use it during the week and things like that. But just the community of believers that come here continue to live out Jesus's single command, just to love and care for one another.
So if people aren't already sold on your community, give the 60-second elevator pitch.
I just gave the hour elevator pitch.
Yeah, 60 second.
Again, for far too long, the church has been known for what it's against. If you've, experienced negativity at your church, if you're not able to go there and bring your questions, if you're not able to go there with your doubts, if you're not able to, sit down and have meaningful conversations with people, this is the place for you. We have an amazing children's program, of which your children really help out with. We use college and high school kids to help take care of our small ones. They're provided a stipend to do that, and it's kind of a win-win for everybody, and they do an amazing job with our young people. We have a small group for people that are interested in getting into the deeper, more complex, more wiry conversations. And our Sunday gatherings are just all about uplifting one another and being there to help one another.
I'm sold.
Okay.
How can people connect with you? Socials?
They can go to, forjohnstown.org. They can go to trygf.org, or they can go to westmontchurchofthebrethren.org. Probably for Johnstown would be the easiest one. All of them linked together.
Paul, I appreciate your time,
the opportunity.
the conversation, the use of your beautiful sanctuary.
It's here whenever you need it.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And until next time.
It was fun. Thank you. I really appreciate this. Like, seriously.